I want to assure everyone that we are going to act speedily on this matter. We are not able to give the exact time frame now, but we are going to act as speedily as possible to address each of the issues that have been raised with us.
He hasn't been in the job long, but Cyril Ramaphosa has certainly been busy. The South African president was forced to cut short his trip at the Commonwealth summit in London as violent protests erupted in the South African city of Mahikeng. Demonstrators clashed with police as they demanded jobs, housing, and an end to corruption. A lot of the frustration is directed at the Premier of the Northwest Province, Supra Mahumapelo. He took over in 2014. Residents are now demanding his immediate removal, accusing him of corruption. Ramaphosa has appealed for calm, but will the president be able to deliver on his promise of clean governance, or will the streets of South Africa erupt once again? Well, to discuss this further, I'm joined now from Johannesburg by journalist and eNCA correspondent Michael Appel, who's been covering the protests in the Northwest. Good to talk to you, Michael. Let me begin by asking you, what did the people who are protesting say to you? In general, at the heart of it all, what do they want?
It's about basic service delivery. That's the starting point. It's about roads, it's about schools, it's about hospitals and clinics actually having medicine. It's about streetlights working, it's about refuse being collected, and it's about corruption being tackled in a meaningful way. And of course, the latch that these protesters, rioters, looters even have used, the call sign has been on the platform of that protest against basic service delivery, or for basic service delivery. They're using the figurehead of the province, the Premier, and his association with the infamous Gupta family. I'm sure people are aware of that family name and his close association with them, and him being the face of corruption in the province, maladministration. His administration has been dogged by allegations that money is being used privately, that the financials of that province are suffering as a result of that. And ultimately, it's the people on the ground that are suffering because that money is being diverted to projects that is ultimately benefiting middlemen instead of the people on the ground. This despite the Premier making a very bold claim that 70% of his budget is spent on the poor in informal settlements and on surrounding areas around the provincial capital in Mahikeng. I can tell you, having been there for the last week, the state of affairs in these outlying areas is atrocious. So where exactly that money is being spent is the big question.
Yeah, now service delivery protests in South Africa, not a new thing. Is the difference that they've actually put a face to it and they've decided to target the figurehead, as you say, the Premier, Supra Mahumapelo, the fact that they've actually got a name and a face to it this time as compared to the past?
Yes, I think this is all spurred on by the fact that on Tuesday last week, the Red Berets, the economic freedom fighters in South Africa, in that province, they wanted to go ahead with a motion of no confidence in the Premier based on these allegations of corruption against them. They wanted that ballot to be held via secret ballot. So they wanted members of the ANC to be protected if they decided to vote with the economic freedom fighters to oust the Premier in that province. The court said that they want political parties, to go to court to continue arguing, and that's only going to happen in about 3 weeks to 4 weeks from now. And off the back of that announcement that there's not going to be this motion of no confidence, that on the Wednesday morning when we woke up, that is when we could see the black tire smoke, and buses had been burnt, minibus taxis, and shops had been looted. And I think it was just really, it was timing, the fact that the Premier, who has found himself in the headlines for months now, based on his association with the Gupta family, who received business in that province, that received millions in prepayments to their companies, that he was, if not a scapegoat, he certainly was a genuine target for these protesters to be able to voice their frustration.
Honeymoon over for President Cyril Ramaphosa, had to cut short his trip in the UK, come back. Can we say that this is the first major test of his presidency?
I certainly think so. I think it's an indication of just how seriously his presidency and the government at large is taking the situation in the Northwest and is taking these allegations of corruption. Cyril Ramaphosa is a tactician. He is, by and large, a tactician. And the way in which the situation is going to unfold is almost classic Ramaphosa. He is not going to be the one that makes the decision that axes the premier in that province. He's also the ANC chairperson in the Northwest. So not only is he a party leader, but he's the premier. He's got a position in government. So the only way to remove him would be for the president to announce that he would like the NEC to direct that ANC caucus in the Northwest to bring their own motion of no confidence against him, to vote him out in that way. But the question is, this close to the 2019 general elections in South Africa, where the fortunes of the ANC have been declining since for the last couple of years, I think publicly to axe a premier now, this is a decision that Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa, really has to weigh up. Does he publicly want to go against the administration and axe a man that is seen to have been in the camp of his competitor at the ANC's elective conference, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma? The premier was seen to be a staunch supporter of her. So there is two factions within the ANC, those that supported Cyril Ramaphosa during that elective conference, and those that supported the NDZ. And he is claiming that all the allegations against him are purely politics playing out here, and that they are accusing some foreign third force of trying to intervene to bring about some sort of regime change.
Right, and we heard that a lot from supporters of the Guptas, supporters of Zuma. They use that sort of language. Let me then ask you, Michael, what's the likelihood of Supra resigning anytime soon, whether the president privately or publicly twists his arm in the process?
He's defiant. He's not going anywhere. He's been in that post for the last 4 years. And he's made it very clear. He often gives public addresses. He hasn't done so lately, but he's made it clear that it's his stance on RET, radical economic transformation. He says that there are some in South Africa that are opposed to radical economic transformation that benefits the majority of South Africans. He is using this similar to what the former president, Jacob Zuma, has done when he is in court on those 16 corruption charges, 783 counts of fraud, corruption, racketeering against him. And he is saying that he also is being targeted for his stance on radical economic transformation. Is Premier Supra Mahumapelo going anywhere? I don't think so.
Okay, Michael Appel, thanks for giving us some deeper insight into the situation there in Mahikeng. Thanks for joining us from Joburg. Michael Appel there.